square roots with Katie and Addison. I'm Addison, and this is Katie. So first what we would like you to learn is some vocabulary terms that we are going to be using in this video. We have a perfect square. These are perfect squares, right here.
A perfect square is a number times itself equaling to that number, which 134 will equal
to 12 times 12 is 144.
3 times 3 equals to 9. Oh.
And then you can also put this as this 3 right here with the exponent because if you're multiplying it by so this is a radical.
Radical is just a symbol, and the number goes inside.
Yeah. Exponent, which we just used. An exponent is, we use this over here, but an exponent is this bigger number and the smaller number. So if we wanted to expand it, it would be 3 times 3. So if this were a 5, it would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3.
The 3 are lucky.
Yeah, the 3s are horrible. So that is what an exponent would be, except this is just in shorter form. And then finally, we have a variable. Variable is basically like the letter in a mathematical sentence. So if we had like 3x times 2 is,
It doesn't have a solution.
yeah, but sometimes there'd be a number here like 18. You would have to figure it out. But that's not what so first thing that we want to start off with is understanding how to solve a square root. So there are obviously perfect squares sometimes, which here it would be 12. But there's also times where it is not a perfect square, like if it were 45. This, you would just break it up into 2 numbers. So in this case, it would be 9 and 5. If there is a perfect square in your number, then you can solve it. You would want to try and find the biggest perfect square because finding a smaller one would just be complicated. So how you solve this is, it's kind of, the perfect square is kind of explained. This would just turn into 3. And since the 5 over here does not have a perfect square in it, you would keep it the same and bring it down to that. So the answer to this is 3, the square root of 5. So if you want another example, we can do another example. So this is 27. Yeah. So this has a perfect square in it, which is 9, and you would, it's 3, because kind of just explain that, but this does not have a perfect square. This 3 right here does not have a perfect square. So we just bring it down. The answer to this is 3 square root. So, want to look at it again? So, here are a few examples that we are going to help you solve. So basically, first what I like to do personally is I have to break it up into so it's easier to solve when you can solve it in 2 parts. So the first part I do is I usually do the number, which this is 12. There you go. Then you have the variable and the exponent, which this can be solved by
expanding it.
So you would cancel out each group of 2. In this case, there's 1 group of 2, so this would just be x. So you bring that over here, and the answer is called x.
then you just, like Addison said earlier, you cross out the bunches of 2. So 2, 2, 1. So that'll be just x2 remainder of 1.
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
It'd be in a number. So, basically explaining this part, we broke
Expand
down,
it.
We expanded it, and then we got rid of each group of 2, which there are 2 groups of 2, so we would add this exponent on the outside right here.
It's like reflecting.
We would add the exponent out there. Okay. So this right here is a remainder, since our number here was odd, so it would have a remainder, and we just put that in the bracket. So then you would do this, which, so then you combine these. You don't do. Basically, you would just combine them anyway, so it would be 3x2, and that would be your answer.
Yay!
And then finally, we have our last one, which is so basically, break it up.
9 and 5.
So this you would solve. And then since this does not have an exponent, it would stay inside of the radical. Since you can't really
Expand it.
Two. So then it would be 3 square root 5x. And that would be your answer. Going over what we talked about today, we talked about perfect squares, which is basically,
A number times itself.
yeah, basically you multiply 2 of the same number to get your answer. So 144 is a perfect square. We went over how to solve the square root, which is basically breaking it up into a perfect square, your largest perfect square you can find that, and a remainder number to multiply that. So it would be 9 and 5. So then you find the square root of your perfect square, and so that's your answer. We also went over how to solve variables. So again, you break it up into your 2 numbers. Yeah. So that would be x. And then you solve this, which combine them. And there's your answer.
Oh, it's the right thing.
So if you want to screenshot this or something, go ahead. Please subscribe.
We don't have a YouTube channel.